So we get to meet Doug Forcett in this episode. It starts right off with that, which is actually kind of felt exciting. The excitement dies down fairly quickly though when we see how Doug is living. Doug has created an existence that is barely living, and all to make sure that he can earn enough points to make it to the good place. It was fun that Michael and Janet were viewing him as a celebrity, but you know what they say, never meet your heroes.
That's what they say.
Welcome back to another episode of The Rank. I'm John, and today we're going to be ranking the next episode of The Good Place. Now, if you're enjoying these episodes or you're just a fan of The Good Place and you enjoy consuming content about it, please consider subscribing and or following. Like the episode, comment, give us suggestions, or email your questions or suggestions to info@therankpodcast.com. Please also consider becoming a patron on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast. Now, today we're ranking the 8th episode of the 3rd season titled Don't Let the Good Life Pass You By. It was written by Andrew Law and directed by Dean Holland. Now, because this sitcom has been out for a while and you can stream it on Netflix and whatever, there's going to be spoilers, so that's your spoiler alert going forward. If you don't want spoilers, you should just watch the episode. Anyway, we always start every episode with the Potent Notables, so let's go to that.
Potent Notables.
So this episode aired Thursday, November 15th, 2018. If you remember from last week's episode, there was a 100,000 viewer gain over 2 weeks. And so I was like really hopeful over that, but turns out we've dropped right back down again, going from 2.772 million viewers to 2.686 million viewers this week, which isn't a huge drop, but still, you know, almost the entire 100,000 is gone again. As for competition, it beat Supernatural again, but lost to everything else, including Grey's Anatomy, Young Sheldon, and Thursday Night Football, which won the night with a really high 16.8 million viewers. It was a close game in which the Seattle Seahawks beat the Green Bay Packers 27-24. Now, if you're wondering why I mentioned it, it's because if I don't say who played and won, the producer Antonio will make me re-record it so that I put it back in, so I have to do it.
He lies.
Now, Doug Forcett is in this episode, and he calls a dead snail he/she, so he/she, right? But it was not from uncertainty. Almost all species of snails are hermaphroditic. They have both male and female reproductive systems. So Doug's house was also used as the cottage that the Pearsons owned on This Is Us. Now, the last thing with Doug Forcett, Michael McKean was the guest star who played him in this episode. And of course, Michael has been around for a long time and has done a lot of TV and movie comedies. But how did he get on The Good Place? Well, they called and asked for him specifically. Why? Well, in his words, quote, just because I've got comedy chops and I've been doing it a long time. And I'm not a complete disaster to work with generally. I say generally, end quote. But of the show, he said, quote, their main cast is so strong. I remember doing a play at the Taper and Will Harper, Chidi, came up to me. I'd worked with him in All the Way in Cambridge, then New York. He said, I just did a pilot. A mistake people make when they try celestial satire like this is they go Clarence the Angel. But that's not what this show is. It's really a show about systems, how they keep rebooting and reinventing the town. It never doesn't make sense. And without preaching to us, it keeps letting us see different angles on realities we are faced with. It's compelling in a really comic way, end quote. So to those of you out there who don't get it, like you, Antonio, I point to this last part of the quote.
It's just not funny.
But anyway, those are all the Potent Notables. Let's do the episode overview. So we get to meet Doug Forcett in this episode. It starts right off with that, which is actually kind of felt exciting. The excitement dies down fairly quickly though when we see how Doug is living. Doug has created an existence that is barely living, and all to make sure that he can earn enough points to make it to the good place. It was fun that Michael and Janet were viewing him as a celebrity, but you know what they say, never meet your heroes.
That's what they say.
Now, while Janet and Michael are interviewing Doug, Eleanor, Chidi, and Tahani are hanging out at a bar and waiting for them, and Eleanor's grappling with telling Chidi about what she knows about the afterlife, and apparently about what she feels about him as well, because she's falling in love with him again, but only for the first time for this version of Eleanor. Anyway, she's fallen in love. So she's debating on telling him or not. So that's essentially the episode, though. We just go back and forth between Doug's cabin in the woods and learning more about his awful life and the will she or or won't she tell Chidi in the bar? Tahani gives Eleanor the advice that she should tell him, so she becomes determined to tell him, and Michael and Janet are realizing that Doug isn't living his best life. Now, when Eleanor is finally ready to tell Chidi, she recognizes Bamba John at the bar. Pretty lucky for all of them, she had seen memories from her afterlife, so that she recognized the demons. Although, I guess it doesn't really matter because they get trapped by them anyway. This is what leads us to the culminating bar fight scene. It was definitely cute/cool that Janet kicks everyone's ass, but it also felt a little, I don't know, like maybe it went on too long. I did enjoy that Jason helps Janet and Janet is just so happy that he did. I also enjoyed that Michael tried to take a share of the credit for beating the demons and that none of them would let him. The surprise though is that the end of the episode has our erstwhile team dying again and going to Janet's void. Or, well, more correctly, dying because they're going to Janet's void. But that's basically the whole episode, so let's see how it ranked.
Oh, wait.
So the rank is where I rank the episode based on 5 categories: story, acting, dialogue, episode coherence, and character relatability. I rank it on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And then we have a laugh counter where I tally up the amount of times the episode made me laugh out loud. 1 point per laugh out loud gets added to the score, and then we get our total ranking. Now, before we dive into the rankings, I just want to say if you're enjoying the episode, please leave a like. It really helps us out. Now, let's head to the rankings. The first category is story, and I gave story a 4. This is sort of a loose story, but it also is the story that allows us to find out there's a flaw in the system beyond accounting for people changing. We find out what Doug Forcett does with his life and how he uses the point system to his advantage to get to the good place. We also get some very quick closure on the demons coming to Earth, perhaps a little too quick. But anyway, let's go to acting, which I gave a 4.5. Everyone is excellent as usual. The only reason I didn't go full 5 is because the bar fight scene just felt a little off to me. It wasn't bad or anything, but just not perfect. So let's go to dialogue, which I gave a 4.25. The dialogue is great as usual as well. It wasn't super funny this time, though it did get me a decent amount of times, which you'll find out. I did enjoy that Eleanor tells Chidi she's in love with him, though. But I'll talk more about that in the next category, which is episode coherence, which I gave a 4.25. It all fit together really well, and it continues to build on what they've created throughout the entire series. I guess one thing that sort of made me raise my eyebrows a little was that Eleanor says she loves Chidi. I'm not against it. As a matter of fact, I said I enjoyed it. I love their chemistry, but it felt a little out of left field. It didn't feel like they were building to that this time, but maybe I'm crazy. You tell me in the comments. Did you see it coming when you first watched it? Anyway, I didn't take it down huge for that. The other one, which I took it down more for, was the idea that Janet got her powers back by being in the doorway a little. Because when she went to Earth the first time here, she just immediately lost all her powers. But now she hangs on to them for a little bit. Again, it's not huge, but it's a coherent slip for the series in my opinion. All right, let's go to the next category, which is character relatability. I gave that a 3. Poor Doug. I suppose I can relate to the way he is, but doesn't the kid on the bike present more of a dilemma? Like, doesn't helping a sociopath not earn you points? Like, you wouldn't want him to be happy. What if he told you to kill someone? Anyway, it's such a sort of esoteric and broad episode that there isn't much to relate to, but it wasn't unrelated. That's all the ranking categories, so that gets us to the laugh counter. And it wasn't great rankings, wasn't bad, so a decent laugh counter will definitely keep it in the top 3 categories. And it was a decent laugh counter. I got 13. So this puts the episode total at a 33, which means I'd watch it again. This puts the series average at a 38.3, which is in the Holy Grail. So it remains in the Holy Grail. So thanks for listening and or watching. If you'd like to see a list of our episode and series rankings, you can see that on our website at therankpodcast.com. Remember to subscribe, review, and comment, and please consider supporting us on our Patreon site at patreon.com/therankpodcast, where you can get access to all of our archived episodes. Also, if you're enjoying the episodes, or if you're enjoying this episode specifically, please hit that like button so that it helps us spread the channel. Anyway, I'll leave you with this. Why didn't Michael and Janet stop to smell Doug's roses? Because they knew exactly what he watered them with.
Wow, that was quantifiably funny.
Because she's falling in love with him again, but only for the first time for her. She's done it many times. I don't know how to say this.
That's okay. Take your time.